treasures that are there. So we want to thank you for the kingdom of heaven. So this is my
just a number, although His presence in. And so I want to share of this area. Okay? So but before we do, let's review. The mission of the Potomac Conference is in language groups in our area right here that we are not reaching yet. Okay, let me look at a slide. Let's look at a slide. This is Prince William County. Okay, this is where we're at right now, is in Prince William County. We have a population of a little over 500,000. 76,000 estimated to speak Spanish is their primary language in Prince William County. We have 9 churches that are non-English speaking. Today I had the opportunity to be at the Woodbridge Ghanaian Church. Praise God that we have a Ghanaian congregation here in our conference. There's also a Korean church which is not part of our conference, but is Allegheny East, that's in this conference. The rest are Spanish speaking. So we have 7 Spanish-speaking congregations in this county. Now there's 76,000. So if we were to divide 76,000 by 20,000, how many churches should we have based on 20,000 or more in Hispanic? Less than 4, but we have 7. Praise God. We're ahead of the curve. Praise God for that. How many of these, how many do you think we have of English-speaking churches in Prince William County? We have 3. There's Living Hope, Manassas, and Woodbridge. There are now there's around over 400,000 that have English as their primary language that they were born with. There is work to be done even in this county. Okay? We can strategically plant another church or 2 English in this county. Now let's look at a neighboring county. Loudoun County has 400,000, a little smaller than Prince William, and there's about 38,000 Spanish-speaking. Right now, there are 2 congregations. How many English-speaking churches do we have in this county? There are 3. Pastor of 2. We took every 20,000. It's not realistic to have a church for every 20,000 English-speaking. But if we added, let's say, 100,000 speaking English, and so there's a lot of those that did not have, that English is their second language in Fairfax County. 166,000 approximately Spanish speaking. Here are a list of the non-English speaking churches. Most of them are Spanish-speaking churches. There's First Nova Ghanaian, and there's also a Korean church in not far. I think it's in Fairfax. Most of them, we have 11 Spanish-speaking churches. We are doing pretty well as far as our Hispanic work. How many English-speaking congregations are in Fairfax County? There are 2. There is Vienna, and there is an Allegheny East Emmanuel Temple. So imagine over 600,000 people, and we have 2 churches that speak English. Now, there is another church that's not, it's a church plant that they speak English, but their target group are Southern Asian, and that's the Herndon, the Southern Asian church plant in Herndon. But there is a lot of work that needs to be done in Fairfax County. I mean, this is a huge mission field that we need to be, as the president Miller, as he was sharing with us, each soul is precious. What an opportunity we have. So how many churches do we need? We need 5 or more English-speaking churches in Fairfax County, if we just look at the numbers. And so here is a list of some of the counties. It's not all of them, but most of them that are represented here. You see the population of the county, how many churches in English, Spanish, or other, which would be other specific target groups of ethnic or language groups. And then you see there are 48 total churches with almost 3 million people in this area. There's a lot of work that we still have to do in our area here of Northern Virginia. If we take this population of just these 3 areas, the city of Alexandria, the county of Fairfax, and Prince William County, just that's 1.7, almost 1.8 million people. There are almost 40,000 Koreans. Now, there are 2 Korean churches in Allegheny East. So the ratio of 20,000 or more, I mean, that fits right there. But look at Indian and also Hindi. Those are both Southern Asian groups. There's almost 50,000. And there is a church plant over in Herndon. But there's a huge group that we need to be reaching. And then look, there's 32,000 Chinese in Northern Virginia, and we do not have a church. We don't have a work yet among that group. Or Vietnamese, and even those that speak Arabic. You know, it's 13,000. It's approaching that number. That we should have a presence in every area. So we have a challenge. We have a great challenge. Our work is not done, and so we need to be mindful of this. We need to strategically, when we, in church, we need to be thinking not only about us, but we need to be thinking, how can we reach our community with the gospel of Jesus Christ? So that's my report.
It's a tall order, isn't it? But with God, all things are what? They're possible. We don't know how it's all going to come together, but we serve a God that does. And isn't that the good news? And so what I like for right now, we need to pass out some gizmos. We're going to have some time for some interaction. I've got some questions and stuff for you. And so those who are prepared to do that, maybe if we have a few extra back there to help, if we could pass out. What that is we're going to ask some questions, and electronically you'll be able to help give us some information. One of the things is we're passing this out and giving them to you. We just need to make sure at the end that we do get them back. They do have a little bit of a price tag on them. And so in the age of terrorism, we have programmed them that if you walk out of the church and still have them in your pocket, they will explode. And we take no responsibility at all for whatever did. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we need those back so that we can use them again, etc. But this will give us some feedback as we talk about the treasures that God has called us to do. And there's been a couple of others who have come in. I'd like to recognize since we just began and stuff. I see Pastor Isaac is here. He's part of our Fredericksburg district as well as helping us with Culpeper and Orange and Stafford. And we have about 7 others that we're going to have. No, just kidding. And also Jennifer Deans has come in from up there. As you heard just a little bit ago, she's pastoring our Cornerstone and Living Faith churches. And in the heart of Loudoun County. In fact, I was driving down from the church over to where Jennifer was and stuff, and I commented to Jennifer, all of the building that is going on now in Loudoun County for nothing more than data, for the cloud, and then the housing that's going there to support it. It was amazing the amount of construction. As many of you know, our new neighbors with Amazon, who knows what that's going to mean for all of our construction around here as well. So we are in a growing area, and God is bringing them to us. So how are we going to reach them? How are we going to grab that treasure that God discipleship program that this, we do not make any. Fajardo has come in. He is in charge of all of our properties that we own, as well as the maintenance and stuff for the conference and many of our other buildings. So welcome. It's good to have you here as well. Now, do you have the gizmos there? We want to practice on these. And okay, you have them. Okay. And we're going to be asking some questions. Now, what all you need to do is, if it works, at the right time when I ask, you're going to see a timer come up here on the screen, and it'll give you the amount of time in which to vote. Now, all you do is you're going to press one of the buttons that will sign up there. The last one before the timer goes out is the one that is going to engage in our conversation here. All right, so we're going to have just a couple of practice ones without reading it. Yes or no? All right? Have you ever clicked, I agree, on the terms and conditions without reading all of those fine print? All right? Now you see that the timer is, did it go there, Frank? All right, you're going to see the quick reaction here momentarily. It will tally everything for us. And yes, few of us have clicked, I agree, without having read everything there. But God bless that 6% that has the time to read everything else. All right, here we go. Have you ever blamed something on someone that was not your fault? Have you ever blamed somebody else for something you did that was really your fault, but you blamed them for it? Has that ever happened? Yes or no? All right, push the little button there. Getting better at this. All right, that's good. Maybe 74. We're our treasure after all. We're all treasure. All right, let's try this right here. So male or female? All right, and that'll give us a quick breakdown as to what our group is here this evening, and we'll be able to see where we are with that. All right, it's a fairly even breakdown, and so that is the makeup of God's treasures here tonight. And let's go to the next question, Frank. And this is kind of the age for the young ones. Do the young ones have a decimal? We should let them vote too. Help us get that age bracket down. But so this will give you. You can see how which ones you can push there. And each time we're getting a few more. So the predominant one that we have, like that, I guess. No greatest generation. Information I gave up front. The church, the appointed agency for the South. Let's go to the next one. What's it's so valuable, your connection with the community. The church that you attend has a clear stated mission and vision. The church that you attend has a clear stated mission and vision. This really isn't, I think so. You should know it if it's clear. So, all right, let's see how that one came out. Your church has a clear mission and vision. For the very context, that's good to see. We did this a few years back, and it was closer to the 40 percentile. But the mission statement says, where are we going? Why do we exist? Why does the church exist? The Potomac's mission is very clear. We exist to grow healthy, disciple-making churches. All right, let's go to the next question. Can you recite your mission and vision? The moment of honesty, right here. Can you recite your mission and vision? Oh, what happened there, Frank? We need to do this one again? All right, we're going to do this in just a second. We're going to re-vote on this one here. He's going to retool this one for us. Okay, I think it's ready to go. Is that correct? All right, let's give it a vote now. Can you recite your vision and mission? You know it clearly. All right. Quite a few do. If you're not, if you couldn't exactly recite it, but at least you're aware of the mission and vision, which is good. Why we exist. All right, Frank, let's go to the next question. We've got just a few more. Are your decisions at your church made based on mission and vision? In other words, are they community-focused decisions? Do you spend more time on community versus maintenance, maybe, or not that those aren't important, but are the decisions you made based upon your mission and your vision? All right, we're going to have a peek here as to how that one comes out. Is it coming up? Okay, we skipped that one. Okay, to the best of your knowledge. Okay, we got back to this one. He's going to bring this one back up for us. We're going to go back and see if we can grab that. We'll give this one more try. All right, looks like the counter is up, and there we go. I think it's ready to go now. Is that correct? Yes. All right, go ahead and let's redo this one. Our decisions that your church made based on the mission and the vision. And Frank, let's stop at this one because before we go to the next one, something happened there. We didn't get any kind of results on that one. Okay. There we go. That is a good sign. That is a good sign. Frank, if you could switch back over to my presentation just for a second. Then we're going to come back because the other questions will be easier to answer if I give you just a little bit of information here. And that is, what is the difference or the primary difference between an externally focused church and an internally focused church? What are the kinds of things that should potentially be seen in a church that spends its time focused on itself versus the ones that see itself focused on others? One of the things is, a church that is externally focused will know why they exist. They have very clear, there's a purpose rather than ambiguity. That's why I asked the question, is it clear? A church that is ambiguous about their mission and vision is not externally focused. It's just not going to happen. Another one is, an externally focused means them versus us. In other words, is more of your conversations about them than it is about us? Is it more about their needs or is it about our comfort in the church? Do we spend more time at our boards talking about the stuff that keeps the church plant functioning, or are we spending more of our time figuring out where is God's treasure and how we're going to find it? Where do we spend the time in discussions? An internally focused church spends more than 50% of their time talking about church needs. An externally focused church spends more than 50% of their time talking about their needs. You understand? Is that clear? We need to talk about what's going on here, but we also need to talk about what's happening in our community. And so you see up here is an internally focused church, and you have all these things. An internally focused church does prayer. They have media, they'll have socials, they'll have health, they'll have outreach, they'll have worship and small groups and children's ministries. But what's the center focus of everything that they're doing? It's about what happens on Sabbath morning. And so what's the main get-together of an internally focused church? In between then what would evangelism and mission. We're going to reach those that are not yet here, that God wants to bring here. See, the difference between internally and external is where we spend our time thinking. That God really wants to see something happen. Or do you really believe that it's going to happen? What if God were to bring 500 new people to your church next week? Are you ready? What if God wants to? Are we ready? You see, sometimes we put God in a box because we're not thinking about that. Of course, God must not be thinking about it. Maybe God is, and He can't get our attention. And so, do we believe that we can actually grow? Do we anticipate that God's going to grow us? Another item. We are intentionally led, proactive versus reactive. Are most of the things that we do in church kind of reacting? Well, we think the kids, the youth are going to do this, the youth did this. I mean, they painted the color of the wall a little different. And so we react to things as compared to being proactive and leading and directing and encouraging and allowing those things because it's part of letting young people be young people or outreach be outreach or whatever it might be. Are we intentional or are we merely reactive? An externally focused church is intentional. They're proactive. Every church that I have found that is internally focused is reactive. Because if we're not intentional, the other will never take place. We act decisively. Sometimes I hear all the time, well, we don't really know about our community. This is going on, that's going on, and 3 years later, we're still circling back to the very same things. One of the things that was positive about Israel is when the priest put the foot in the water, what happened? Then it parted. They took action. God said, go do it. And so what has God asked us to do? Go. And the moment we take the action to go, then he can start to do his stuff. And that's why it's important that we act decisively. God has called us to go make disciples. That's non-negotiable. That's why we exist. So go. Let's act decisively on that front. We deal with challenges. The enemy is at work, is it not? So when things show up within the congregations or whatever, in a conference or a school, we need to deal with the challenges and deal with them quickly and decisively. Not wait again 2 or 3 or 4 years and wonder why some things never go away. You'll learn to deal with our challenges. A praying church. Do you believe that the supernatural can actually do something different in your life and in the community where we are? It's not just praying about it. It's not wrong to pray for our health, but most Adventist get-togethers, we pray more about each other's health than we do for the community that's being lost outside our doors. God knows about our health issues, and they're important. But if 95% of our prayer time is dealing with cancer and not dealing with the pain that's all around us, that's an internally focused church. Listen to the prayer time. Because we will announce our treasures. We will announce our treasures. Are we a praying church? And so, let's go back to those questions, Frank. It'll help us on the next couple of questions as we wrap this portion up here. Give it just a moment as we... Is your congregation externally focused or internally focused? That's not a fair question, is it? But guess what? We need to wrestle with that, don't we? So, to the best of your knowledge, is your congregation externally focused or internally focused? All right, let's see what we have here. It's going to be coming up here in just a second. 56% say yes. That's encouraging, isn't it? Let's continue to grow that number. That we are all externally focused. But that is, I'm very pleased to see that's your take and understanding. Let's go to the next question. Got just a few more. How many individuals or friends do you regularly associate with who are not of the same faith as you? In other words, you're getting well acquainted with them. And that doesn't mean that if you have a child that's not baptized, you've got to be careful with how you might interpret this. They're important people, but, I just play it with you. Okay, nobody. Frank, what happened here? Help me out here. Okay, there it goes. It came up. Okay. The large majority is 2 or more. So that's encouraging. It'd be nice if we all could say 10 or more, huh? Because the best evangelism is still one-on-one. Getting to know somebody. Recently they asked, when we were down at prior to the last general conference, the pastors all get together, someone asked the question, how many of you, and they were talking about pastors, okay, it was all 6,000 pastors in the audience. And so, how many of you came through Voice of Prophecy into the church? Were you there, Randy? Just a few hands went up. How many of you came in because of It Is Written? Just a few hands came up. How many of you came in because someone invited you to the church? 90+% of all the hands went up at that point. That's a pastor's. There's nothing as powerful as one-on-one. That's still the best method, Christ's method alone. Let's go to the next question. Would you feel confident inviting those individuals, in other words, what we just talked about, to the church you regularly attend? In other words, you said you have 2 or more, most of you said you have 2 or more individuals that are not of your faith. And would you feel confident in bringing them to the congregation that you attend? In other words, you'd feel good about inviting them to come. All right, it's going to give us the answer here in just a moment. How do we respond to this? Is it going to come up there? It's running through the algorithms. There we go. There you go. That's a good number. Be nice if it was 100%. But we're getting it up there. Each time I ask this question, the number is getting higher, and I appreciate that. It means that we're becoming more effective and starting to understand what our mission truly is. So, God bless you. Keep inviting us. Invite individuals to come hear the word. Your congregation can grow. Now, don't just say what you think we want to hear. Do you really believe that your congregation can grow? Is what that is. You'd be ready for God to send you 50 new people. You'd be excited about it. Change all your power structure. Sermon on that one? Vince also, he's our, as I said earlier, pastor of our Solid Rock, but he also serves on our executive committee and has served us so well. 92% say yes. That is encouraging. Because if a congregation believes they can grow, that means that they can plant another church. And what a great problem to have. Saw the numbers that Jorge put up there. Your best guess is, how do you sense you've the greatest church growth places? All right, let's see where this one takes us. All right. God uses a lot of different ways, doesn't he? Yeah, question. Have you personally brought someone to faith in Jesus in the last 2 years? You see, as was brought out by Rick, part of our vision is to say that our membership will double. Well, there's only one way that's going to happen is if we bring people to Jesus. It's not about numbers. And so have we brought someone in the last little bit? If everyone brings one, we double. It's just that simple. So, have you brought someone to Jesus in the last couple of years? Well, you invited them to give their heart to Jesus, and they have come to faith in Jesus. Because that really is the ultimate call of discipleship, is to introduce somebody else to Jesus. Just like Andrew did. And so let's see how this one comes out. All right, yes, 34%, 66% say no. So what do you say we all bind together and commit to one another? Let's find those individuals that God will bring into our path. And let's bring them to His faith. Because they are His treasures. Does that make sense? And so, as we spend our time here, the rest of it is brought into our area, the treasures that He has brought under our influence to make a difference. And so all of us working together, when this gospel of the kingdom is preached to the whole world, then it's not what the Pope does. It's not what politics is doing. When is the sign of His soon return? When the gospel is preached. And God is bringing the world to us. You don't have to go very far from here, and you're going to see cultures of every background, et cetera, right? So God is bringing them right here. Well, thank you for your engagement in that. We'd like for you, I think at this time we'll pick up the gizmos and stuff that'll end that. But one of the things that has come up to our attention that many do have questions on, I'm going to invite Dave Hanover to come up. And we reported our last constituency that we were facing some challenges on our finances and stuff. And so I've asked Dave also to give us kind of a quick synopsis of where are we with our finances.
God has really blessed over the last number of years since our constituency, so we are very pleased. These people have been faithful, and thrilled with that. That's right, I think I'm supposed to say next on this one, because my controller is not going to work. What we have here is that as we look at our balance sheet as of November 30, December has not been closed yet. It takes a little longer to close the last month of the year. But as of November 30, our assets were just about $16.5 million, liabilities at 3.2, and our net assets compared to the year before have gone up by about $800,000 to 13.3. Those are very large numbers, and most of us are a bit amazed at those kind of large numbers. But what we forget, and this is what we have to remind ourselves, is that the conference is made up of 200 churches and schools. And we hire, on behalf of the churches and schools, or directly pastors and teachers, about 650 to 680 people a year, roughly. And so it's a very large organization. This is what it takes operationally to be supportive of this organization. The next slide is what we're going to look at here, and this shows the tithe through December 31. We do have this up to December because we just closed the books in the last day or two. And the tithe for 2018 was $36.6 million. Somebody please say amen. This represents individuals who say, I am not going to depend on myself for everything. I'm going to trust that God provides for me, so I will return 10% to Him. It's an outright miracle of the heart. And that's what tithe represents. It's truly an amazing thing. So we are really blessed with decades. And so we still are trying to catch up on that. And so this will help cover the increases with the salary for our employees. Okay? The next slide, please. As we look at a common question is, what does tithe go for? I remember once I assure you that we do not schedule increase in pizza parties at the office when tithe goes up. The vast majority, though, of the tithe goes for a couple things, and that is pastors and teachers, the pastoral ministry and the education ministry. Directly for the pastoral ministry is just about $11.6 million, 32%. Another 20% goes directly to the education ministry. Now, if you notice retirement there at 11%, that also is for past workers who have dedicated their lives to the Lord's work. So when you look at it that way, about 60% of the tithe is used directly for workers in the field. Now, we do have about 8% goes for administration, another 2% for communication, and then 25% is shared with the world field. It goes up to the union, the division, and the general conference, which is then, some of it comes back to us, but the vast majority of it is spread out around the world for ministries that are conducted at other levels. Okay, then we look at the next slide. We're going to look at, someone says, well, what do we do directly for evangelism? And this was year to date about $700,000. Last year about $850,000. That is not all the way through December. We do not have that final number yet. The question comes, why don't we spend more on evangelism? We certainly could. The interesting thing with evangelism is, and I've been a local pastor and I've seen the results of this, is just pouring dollars into more advertising does not create better evangelism. I'll just tell you. Most of it, as Brother Miller has already shared, comes through personal contacts, invites, walking with people beside them as they express an interest in spiritual things, inviting them to come to your fellowship. And so, if we were just to keep in now, there is endless possibilities for planting churches, and we could certainly do that as well. And so we would like to do more in that area per se. Now, this amounts to about 1.5% of the tithe base goes for this expenditure. Okay, next slide then, looking at, there's a very good picture when it comes to our school reserves. 4 or 5 years ago in 2014, the school reserves were a negative $50,000. And so to help support our schools when they get into trouble or other situations, or just to fund the teachers on an ongoing basis, we had no reserves to do that. So part of the program over the last number of years has been to increase the reserves. Now, what does this mean? This just means you don't spend everything that comes in. And somebody said, well, you should spend every dollar. Well, then we would go bankrupt because you have to weather bad conditions, bad downturns. You have to have reserves. So the education reserve has come back up nicely. We estimated in 2018 about $4 million. What this is going to enable us to do is that there are a couple of major initiatives that we are contemplating at both our academies, Tacoma Academy as well as Shenandoah Valley Academy over the next 12 to 18 months. This is going to enable us to take part in those initiatives that are vital if our academies are continue in health. This is also the reserve that is there for when, if a school, if there is a dire situation at a school, then we have this to help weather the storm as well. So this is another great blessing from God, which we're grateful for, how He has restored us in this area. We thank each one of you for the part you have played as faithful tithe givers. And that's the financial report for tonight.
All right, one other good news, and you may have a question on that, is that our working capital, which says how much we have in reserves to be able to keep an operation our size going, is at what percentage approximately?
Right now it's probably about 110%.
About 110% of what the recommendations are from the General Conference. At one point we were down at 30%, 35%. And so to see how God has blessed us in turning this around is just an amazing thing. It just shows the faithfulness of everyone working together to see God's mission go forward. So at this time, we're going to take a little time here to ask questions. We've given you a lot of information and some other things. You may have a question about something that we've already presented here, maybe something that Dave has said, or Jorge, or myself, or one of the others, or you may have another question that doesn't have anything to do with what we've already presented. And that's why we have the different ones from our staff here, is so that if it's an area of education, or if it's education of Hispanic ministries, or wherever, we can answer those questions. We have a couple of roving mics here that will be ready to go. And so are there any questions that you might have? Yeah, you've already given us. And that's okay as well. But we have a couple of things that we can continue with if you don't have a question. All right? Right here, right up front here.
Just a math interest. What's the reason for the every 20,000 people that you want a particular building or plan?
When we came up with that is somewhat of a, within the evangelical world and others, that kind of a basis by which they also look at communities and stuff. Now, obviously, in a metro area, that's why Rick has helped us break it down and say, well, maybe rather than looking at the 20,000, maybe we look at 1 in 100,000 to start with, and then maybe we go to 50,000 from them. But the truth of the matter is unless you go to the real mega churches, and so that's a lot of different churches, even at that size. And so it's not necessarily real scientific, other than just a.
I was curious about the statistics that are being shown. What is our presence? If we compare how many Adventists per 1,000 are in Potomac Conference.
Okay, if we divide that out, someone need to get a calculator out for me, because I know about our population for the conference. Our population for the Potomac Conference, because as you maybe Frank, if you could put that map up real quick, it's the map of the entire conference. We are in the state of Virginia, minus the 2 counties that are over on the eastern shore. That's part of the Chesapeake Conference. And then we have 2 counties in Maryland as well as Washington, D.C. The population basis there is about 11.2 million. And our membership, Jorge, is what? 36? 36.5. So if someone has a calculator on that phone, give me that number. That's basically what. But what's you working on? Population is about 11.2 million in this region. And it's 36,500 is our membership. 30.
One Adventist every 306 people is what I got.
One Adventist for every 306 is about what it is within our. Now, what I have not included in that, so please understand, with our regional conferences overlapping, I don't know what their membership is within our territory as well, because Allegheny West as well as Allegheny East overlays Potomac, and I don't know exactly what their numbers are in this same territory. All right. Any other questions? There'll be some more time for other questions if you don't. And I always like a story. You know, we need good stories, right? Jesus was in interesting places and encouraging them to come to Jesus. So talk to us briefly about a story.
My mother and father language is Italian. The country I was born, the language is Spanish. The country I live in now the language is English. I don't speak well any of these 3 languages. But the boss is the boss. Years ago, I went to the evangelistic campaign in one country, Hispanic country, and when I preached one Sabbath for 5 times, and I went to return to the hotel. The next day, I taken the flight to return to USA, and I have hungry this time. I'm looking for one restaurant to take the dinner, and I select one restaurant, and one ladies give me welcome, and one person came in to say, okay, what do you want to drink? I do my elections, and she came in with a drink, and when she came, she take the drink, put it on the table, and part of the liquid spread on the table. I see and believe that she apologized, she said something, nothing. And she said, you are ready to order? I said, yes. I take the menu and say, can you explain me what's about this food? And she said, you can read? Yes. Okay, just read. first reaction was, okay, I want to call to I want to order and say, you know, God love you. She said, sir, God don't exist. Okay. I say, no, God love you. I say, who are you? I'm one customer, I have hungry, and my expectation is you take the good manners to talk to me, but, you know, God love you. And she came in and say, why do you say that God love me? Because it's so many restaurants in this area. You know, my country is in the bad situation, financial situation, and I have so many problems. And what is your reality? I say, okay, I have family, I have 2 children, but I never can see my children because I start my day 9 a.m., I continue the next day 2 a.m., and when I go to my house, back, my husband is sleeping, my children are sleeping. In the morning, he takes the children to the school, and I see my children and my husband just 1 day a week. Why do you return your house? Oh, because the economy in my country is very, very bad, and we don't have money to take the bus and return two times in the day, and that's the reason. What's your salary? And she said, in our mind, I have a good plan for you. God exists there. The economic problems, the situation, the violence, so many. She gave me the food, and she said, sir, I really don't believe what you say, all that you say, but I'm feeling better now. Okay? She gave me the ticket. I only spend maybe $6, $7 to pay. And pay is more, it's 100% I consume it, and yeah, I say, okay, that's the only wife say we not need to take the dinner, that's okay, and so many questions, but I take the bill, the $100 put on the plant, I take my key to open the door, and Lucia coming out with the bill of $100. I say, sir, yes, you give me $100? I say, no, God sent the money for you. Really? Yes, because God loves you. And she asked me, excuse me, sir, you changed my day. You changed. Who are you? Just one person that loves God, and my mission is to save some person in everywhere that God loves them. And we can find more people that has the same belief as you. Okay, I take my phone number. He can call you maybe tomorrow and can explain about the love that God loves for you. She gave me the phone number. Lucia, her husband, she's 2 children. Now they are Adventist, Seventh-day Adventist. They are part of our family.
That kind of cool or what? I love that story. I just can't help but just smile inside. One of the things that we also can do, that I'd like to invite Josan, if you would come up real quick, is that we are investing in a training session that will become available for all the congregations that would be interested. But it's something that we need to look at very, very carefully, and it's called Growing Young. So Josan, give us a couple minutes here on this Growing Young, and let's see what it does to apply to local churches.
Thank you. How's everybody doing? Yeah. All right. I see only young people here, amen?
Amen.
Only one amen. Good. The president is right there. Let me say that again. I see many young people here.
Amen.
Hey, it's warming up. It's getting better. Okay, let me just change the question. How many would like to experience the same experience that Pastor Esposito just shared with us about having a connection with a person that you never met before? How many of you would like to have those experiences?
Amen.
I don't believe it. I like them to hear it, but how many would like to experience it? Amen. That's what we want to encourage everyone to be part of what a growing young is. And let me just go really quickly. Help me out. Everything is based in one key text that we all know, that we all have heard, that we have repeated. Next one, please. Next one. And it's 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12, that says, "Do not let anyone look down on you because you are." And he's not talking about, many times we talk about age. But it's not just about age. It's about your relationship with Christ too. Many people come to the church and they become young in the relationship with God. Wow, that's amazing. And just God did through you. For the believers in speech, in conduct, love, faith, and purity. What is growing young? Help me out. This is the reality that we need, that we are living right now. The church, your church, needs young people. Age, relationship with God. We need young people. And they need your church as well. Why? Because one without the other is incomplete. What are we talking about? That relationship that we can develop. There are key things that we need to start to experience, that we need to start to live. And these are the ones. What matter the most is relationships, empathy, not sympathy. Empathy, community, and Jesus. When you develop relationships, wow, you can do great things. And we know, the president mentioned a little bit about the example that Jesus set. The best way to do evangelism is just following what Jesus did. The first thing is developing relationships. Nobody's going to trust you if they don't know you. You can talk and talk and talk and talk, but if they don't know you, they're like, okay, okay, bye. Or like when we mostly, or many of us have ever said, someone comes to us, but we don't have a relationship with them, saying, I'm going to pray for you. Yeah. And as soon as they leave, we forget about praying for them. Relationships, empathy, community, and Jesus. How can we make this happen into our churches? How can we make this a reality into our schools, into our families, everywhere? Because we are Christians 24/7. We love to say we are Seventh-day Adventists, but let me tell you, we're not only seventh, we are 7-day Adventists. So that makes a difference. 6 strategies that we want to encourage each church to start to develop. And this is something that is not something that we created. It's not something that we come up with the idea. No, this is NAD. This is around the world. Out of a research that was done through many different churches around the United States, and that applies to everywhere in the world. Different churches, big, small, rural places, big cities, you name it. These are the 6 key things that we need to start to work on. And it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's something that we all can do. The first one, unlock key chain leadership. What are we talking about? Sometimes these people that love to have the position, but the responsibility, they don't quite fulfill it. And what I'm talking about is not the responsibility to lead. I'm talking about the responsibility of mentorship. Good leaders mentor others to follow. So that's what we're talking about. How to start to mentor people. Relationships. We have young people, they are so savvy in different things that they would like to be part of the church. But sometimes the leaders, they don't know how to connect with them. They don't know how to dialogue with them. They don't know how to speak the language that the next generation, not next generation, the generation that we already have, they speak. How can we do that? That's one of the key things that we are being trained in different ways, how we can start to develop that in our churches. The other strategy is empathize with today's young people. Instead of judging or criticizing them, step into the shoes of this generation. We all have been, how many here, do you remember being a kid? Because we all were kids at one time. But it's interesting that sometimes it seems to be like we forget how it is to be a kid. We need to start to give them opportunities let them be involved in every single thing in our churches, in our families, in our groups. Because the little kids have a lot to teach to the young people with a lot of experience. I don't like to call elders or elderly. I like to say young people with a lot of experience. So the young people with a little bit of experience, they have a lot to teach to the people with, or the young people with a lot of experience, and vice versa. So those are the things. How can we start to get to know, make those connections between all the different generations? Because each generation has something special to teach to the other generations. The other strategy is take Jesus' message seriously. With this one, I have to sit down. Because this is the saddest part of all the research that we have done. And this is the reality why most of our young people are leaving the church. There is no authenticity in the message of Jesus. In the church, one person, as soon as they come out of the doors of the church, totally different person. Totally different. And when they see them in the gas station, when they see them in the supermarket, a totally different person. And we have sugar-coated the message of Jesus. If you love Jesus, there is a change that you have to experience. Taking it seriously. But how? How can we do it? We are going to be teaching about all of these ways. And it's something easy. The only thing is letting God enter in your heart 100%. Not just a little bit. Instead of formulating gospel claims, welcome young people into Jesus-centered way of life. How can we do it? The other strategy is fuel a warm community. Everybody is part of this wonderful family. In a family, you have the one that is energetic, the one that is always ready to do something. In the family, you have the person that is always upset. You don't even know why, but he is always upset. You look at him and say, hey, are you okay? Okay. Or the uncle or family member that knows everything. Well, or thinks that knows everything. Or the funny one. But we all are a family. How can we develop that in the church? We have some that maybe doesn't know how to speak the language, as Pastor Susito said. His heritage is from Italy. He worked in a Spanish country. Now he lives in a country that speaks English, and he's trying to manage the three languages. But what is the best language that we can all speak? Love. The language is love. That fuel a warm community. How can we do that? Instead of focusing on cool worship programs, listen to that. Young people and people in general are not looking for an amazing program. They are not looking for light from it. No. The only thing that they're looking is for an intergenerational relationship. The fifth strategy is prioritize young people, and when I say young people, it's families everywhere. Instead of giving lip service to how much young people matter, yeah, they're important, they're this, they're that, but sometimes as soon as they finish talking about it, you're okay, still sit down. You'll have your time. Or what we love to say, you are the future of the church. And they're like, if I'm the future, I don't need to be here today. You see what I'm saying? How can we involve them and say, hey, you are the present of the church? Amen. Look for creative ways to tangibly support, resource, and involvement in all the facets of the congregation. There are kids that are interested in being teachers, Sabbath school teachers. There are kids that are interested in being elders, young people that want to be in the IT ministry or multimedia ministry. You name it. Everybody wants to play a part. And the last strategy is to be the best neighbor. We love our churches, but most of our churches are commute churches and not community churches. So sometimes we enjoy, we come together, it's a great day, as soon as we just leave. But our neighbors, they don't even know that we are there. They don't even know that this building is a church. How can we become really good neighbors? Not only locally, but globally. How can we do this? Because this is amazing. These are great strategies, but how can we do it? So the next steps that we have is, first of all, we want to train the leaders. Last weekend, we had 150 plus young leaders for all the conference coming together, and we had a weekend with them, and we were teaching them these strategies and many other ways to be aware. Hey, there are things that you can do that you don't have to spend any money. The first thing is relationships. Desperate. The biggest need right now around the world is described in 4 letters. Love. The biggest need. And you need to develop relationships in order to share it. Regardless of your age or role in your church, you have a vital role to play in helping your congregation grow young and grow together. Meeting with leaders, meetings that we have been talking about it, getting the books and how to present it. We have 5 pastors, including myself 6, that are going through the training in order to be able to present it in different ways. So we want to be available to you. We want to be providing things to you. And I don't want you to go, because I know I have talked a lot and I move a lot. And all that. I want you to take something with you. And Tony is going to help me out with that. In just 1 page, everything that I say, it describes, so you can take it home, digest it little by little, pray about it, because we want you to be part of this. Because at the end, this is the reality. The last one, please. This is what Ellen G. White said. We have nothing to fear for the future. These are 6 great strategies. But many times, we might be nervous. Is this something that my church can do? Is this something that, can I have or help the community? And can I share Jesus in meaningful ways? Listen to this. We have nothing to fear for the future, except as we shall forget the way that the Lord has led us and His teaching in our past history. Has Jesus been amazing? Has God been amazing in the past? He is going to be awesome. Even Jesus said that there's going to be people, when He was here, He said, there's going to be people in the future who are going to do things better, greater than what I have done. I don't know how that's going to happen. But if Jesus said it, that will happen. So the invitation is for you. As soon as you start to get to know more about Growing Young Initiative in our conference, we want you to be part of this movement that is not just for, as I said in the beginning, for young people, age-wise. This is for everyone in the church. It says intergenerational family. We cannot do anything without you. And you cannot do anything without all of us. Because a family has to be together. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Amen. All right. Thank you very much for that energy as well. Questions? We've got more things. We're going to open up again for questions if you have any. We will call the meeting at 7:30, and if some of you may still have some other questions afterwards, and that's okay. We'll stick around to answer some questions, but we will bring kind of the punctuation point there at the end. There are refreshments that we're going to have as well in the fellowship hall for those of you who would like to have some of that. But are there some questions about anything that's going on? All right. There may or may not be. Steve, I'm going to invite you to come up while people are thinking about it. We have 3 schools within this region. We have one down in Fredericksburg. We have one right here, obviously, in Manassas. And we also have one just down the freeway here a bit at Vienna. And so education is a big part. And Kelly is here, and Dwight's been here. And we have TLC and some good things as well. So talk to us a little bit about education here.
Thank you, Elder Miller. Good evening, everybody. I have a personal bias. I love Christian education. How many of you are a product of Christian education? Just raise your hand. Okay, wonderful. So we can speak to it personally. Within the Potomac Conference, we have 17 schools. 17 schools, and the enrollment rate now is 1,562. We're up a little bit from last year. The Lord is blessing. Very active. And I just wanted to spotlight very briefly on the purpose of Christian education, because it is, some people are worried about the money. There is money involved. Thank you. But also, Dave, don't go far because I have my glasses on. It also is kids' environment than even at home. And there are so many needs that are out there, and I'm hoping I click this the right way. Can somebody help me? Just click it, because okay, he's got it. They have so many things going through their young minds, and we can relate, right? We remember being confused, baffled, puzzled. Where am I going? And you can do that yourself. But if you go to the very next one, what does it have to offer? The next one? Spiritual. Obviously, that's first and foremost. We want to introduce the kids to Jesus Christ and to foster a relationship with Him. Next. The social. It is important. Jesus, community outreach, but personal relationship. Realize that in that relationship with Jesus Christ, there is a peace that passes understanding that only He can bring, and that they can not only take that, but they can pay it forward. Service. Education isn't just for the purpose of teaching the kids. Right? It's for a purpose. And we always tell the kids, the Lord has a specific purpose for you. You were made uniquely. An academic, of course. And you'd be amazed at the test scores of how our kids do. A few years back, there was a non-Adventist gentleman who does documentaries for PBS, and he focused on the Adventist system. Have any of you ever seen, it's called The Blueprint? It's powerful. Being able to say what, if you match up our education with the public school system or others, it stands right at the top. But preparing our kids for their life's work requires strong academics, and that's what our schools provide. And hats off to our educators and our school administrators. They do an excellent job here at the Potomac Conference. Stewardship, providing opportunities for our kids to know the value of money and that it comes from the Lord and how to use that. We'll go next. And then, of course, the financial, about tithing and the importance of serving our churches with our monies. Next. And the mentoring, paying it forward. When we train the child in the way he should go, he will never leave. Next. So there are a number of needs to be met. And again, if I was to ask any of you, would you like to go back and be in junior high again? What would you say? No. That's a tough age. But helping them feel nurtured and guiding them with all of these questions. But I would like to leave you with, she says, to restore in man and woman the image of his or her maker, to bring him or her back to the perfection in which she redemption. And Mrs. White says, this is the object of education, the great object of life. So it does serve a purpose. And we can testify, being a part of Christian education, what it has done personally in our lives and what we want for our children to experience as well. And even if you don't have a child or your child has grown up, the support that you give with your prayers and other are greatly appreciated. So please keep our schools in prayer, our administrators that we have here, our staff, because they do serve an important ministry, and thank you for your support.
Amen. How many here also serve on school board? I know Janine does. She serves with us down at SDA. Which school do you serve with? Right here, okay?
Fredericksburg.
In Fredericksburg. We have a lot of investment in schools, don't we? And what a good investment that is. So thank you for your service as well, in taking the time to serve on the local school board. All right, any questions? I'm not going to put questions into your mind, but do you have any other questions? I'm going to ask that every once in a while. If not, I've got that presentation. Go right back over here. We've got a
an 8th grader that's graduating, and I'm having a problem with what for high school because I'm in Tacoma Park, and I'm not driving to Spencerville, and I'm not ready for SVA. So what?
What are the options? What the news is?
Don't know if I want them on computers for our school in Vienna.
They are doing.
There you go. That's a good push. Yes, right here, Janine.
Say to the mom that is. We are sending a child to SVA, and we sent a child.
We have a lot of different ministries, and we get a lot of questions on what about health, what about prison, all these kinds of things. Talk to us briefly. What are some of these things, and how can they?
That I wear is to provide support to what we call a non-conference-based support ministries. And currently we have, as many of you know, prison ministries. And by the way, all of these ministries will increase. We have Adventist Community Services. We have disaster response ministry as well. Religious liberty, support them. And our very newest ministry launched last, we have things like deaf ministry, blind ministry, someone already service dog policy. When a person that needs, or uses a service dog, can he or she be allowed into a house of worship? Well, we're exploring, some of the regulations and things that have to do with that. So special needs, it's really kind of expanding on its own. And our latest attempt to add one more ministry is health ministries, which we're still exploring a little bit. We're still wondering, how that can come to fruition. But we do have, like I said, many support ministries out there. Most of them, if not all of them, are on the website. If you go to Potomac Conference, the website, under ministries, you will find the tabs for each one of these ministries. You will find the contact person, the person that leads the ministry, contact information, and a description as to what they serve you with. Also, you need to know that most of these ministries have been approved by Potomac Conference Executive Committee. We have a committee that oversees those ministries and takes care of the funding, et cetera, et cetera. And so we do have something out there for most of you, and we want to encourage you to use them. Contact that persons are in charge of those ministries. And if you have any questions, since I oversee most of these ministries and lend support to them, talk to me as well. We'll be happy to give you more information, or if you have some advice for us on how we can do better, serve you better, also talk to me, talk to them, and we'll be happy to share that information. But we're very happy, again, to provide some of these ministries for your support.
All right, questions? Right here. Need a mic right over here. Thank you, Adele. We'll get the mic there.
Please forgive my ignorance, but I'm trying to find out exactly. We know that we have a Silver Spring Deaf congregation, and I don't know the salary of Pastor Trexler. I don't know where it's coming from. Where is it? The union, the conference, the division? Who's helping? Who's paying his? And the reason I ask that is because we have a little deaf group in our Fredericksburg church, about 10 members, if I'm not wrong, hearing impaired, and we want to present a united front that Silver Spring belongs to us.
Recently met with the leadership of that deaf company that you're referring to in Camp Blue Ridge, under the direction or sponsorship of the North American Division, and we're exploring ways to bring that community even closer. And again, we have the blessing of the North American Division, who has sponsored that group in years past, and so now they're willing to re-engage again. And so we're going to move forward and see where God takes us, but we've already started those conversations to try to find out how many other deaf people do we have in the Potomac Conference. How can we bring them all under one umbrella to try to provide ministry supports for each one of those. And that's one of the first things that we agreed from that meeting. We're going to take a poll and try to find out how many other groups we have, and then begin the process of bringing them together under one ministry.
Okay, I just want one little thought. If we could have our dream come true, that we would have Pastor Trexler visit us and make the visitations that our members need, because we are having a little crisis situation. And if we can have our Pastor Trexler come and help us, that would be a dream come true. That would be a blessing, because the group was blossoming, and sadly that's not the case anymore, and we're like in an emergency mode.
All right. He is being
sponsored, my understanding is through the North American Division and some with Columbia Union. He was at one time one of our pastors. Then he went out to, I think it was Arizona. He was out there for quite a while. And now it's kind of come back this direction a little bit, but it's being, my understanding is being sponsored through that organization. So, all right, other questions? Things that you've heard of, want clarity on? I see another hand. All right, this is a quiet group, man. You must have had a good potluck at church today or something. I tell you what.
They're hungry.
They're hungry, yeah.
And after hearing that story, I know there's a lot of $100 tippers out there.
That is precious. That is precious. Well, we're going to have one more quick report. Then I'm going to invite our newest member of our team, Ray Queen, to come up because we have some special ministries that take place, and it's one of our assets. And sometimes, because it's a little bit of a distance from here, some don't get down there. But Ray, take just a couple minutes here to talk to us about what are some of the ministries that are coming up that maybe they can get their kids or others involved with, maybe even called this summer.
Absolutely. Summer camp ministry is something that is near and dear to my heart. I've been involved with summer camp and camping industry for over 20 years now, and God has blessed to see so many young people who come to camp for one thing, which is to come and enjoy and get away from home, but to just get out in nature. But our intention is to share Jesus with these young people. And camp ministry here at Camp Blue Ridge, we are excited to be here. We've just been here for a very short time.
Less than a month.
Less than a month. But we are extremely excited. Camp Blue Ridge has a tremendous ministry to take place there. We're excited to be here. We're preparing for that. We're getting around to getting things up on the web and getting things.
What is the web page? How can they find Camp Blue Ridge?
It is campblueridge.org.
All right. And he comes to us from the big state of Florida, where he's been associated with Camp Kalakwa for a number of, how many years? I know you were 18 years down there, but a few others.
We're 18 there. We were with the Florida Conference our entire time. We were at a small camp just outside of Orlando, Pine Lake Retreat Center, which was an old self-supporting school that they turned into a retreat. We were there for about 3 years.
And then on to Camp Kalakwa.
And God has pulled us here.
And those of you who know about Camp Kalakwa down in Florida, it's quite the camp. And so he has been a minister there. He felt the call to come here to Potomac, and we are grateful that he's accepted the call. And one of the things that you and I have also talked about, there are some schools here. Are you guys going to be talking anytime in the near future about outdoor education or any of those kinds of things?
We are. There's a lot of things that are going through my head. One of the things, and I just want to share something with you. I have been involved personally with Blind Camp my entire time in camp ministry. Much of that time, I had to fundraise the money myself to have that blind camp at our camps. I just took a note that we have deaf camps in our conference, and we will be working towards having deaf camp or those types of things at our facility to share and continue that growing population. I personally know several people within our college systems who study ASL, and that is their life journey, and to minister through that. So I take that person to my heart, and I will work towards doing that. On the other side of that, outdoor education, when I was there, we started out my first year with outdoor education with 46 campers there, and it was a lot of fun, but it was a ton of work for 46 people. And so we grew that ministry through our education department, partnering with our teachers, actually working with the teachers and finding out what they wanted out of outdoor education, and building and designing a program that was good for the schools, good for the students, and good for camp. And in the last number of years, we've been seeing between 500 and 700 kids. Summer camp, how many go to our church schools, and through outdoor education, how many come to summer camp. It's amazing to me that our summer campers many of them don't go to our church schools. And looking at, now that may not be the way here at Potomac Conference, we'll start finding that out. But at outdoor education, I would always take that poll as to how many of those kids got to come to summer camp. And it was always less than 15% of those kids. So the opportunity through that ministry and getting those kids to come to camp and have that camp experience is huge, because we're marketing to a whole different area of students. We're also getting ready for recruitment for staff for summer. So I am planning to go out to SDA. Very good friends with the boys' dean out there, I just found out. So I'm learning my way around the country, seniors, to come out and help out with summer ministries.
There's a lot going to be going on, as we're going to be doing a lot more development up at Camp Blue Ridge, and you'll be seeing some real changes up there. But welcome to the team. It's good to have you right here, and thank you, Potomac, for sharing with us. But the most important thing we want you to continue to remember this evening, and we'll wrap up, and they're hungry, so make sure you have people ready to go in there, Randy.
I'll go on right now.
Yeah, there you go. I want you to look to the person next to you and say, you're a treasure. And whose treasure are you? God's treasure. Remember the price that God paid for you. He rallied all, and that's why I love the quotation so well. He rallied all the resources of the universe. Put a price tag on that. The resources of the universe for you. And He's done that for our neighbors, and the ones down the street, and the ones in our community, the ones in our cities. They're treasures. Let's go and find God's treasures and introduce them to the best person in the universe, Jesus. What do you say? So we're going to have a closing prayer. And Randy, do we go through both side doors? Where do we go?
No, go through this door,
This door.
All the other doors are locked. This is the best door to go through. There's a fire hazard if you go through those.
Any other doors? Do we have all the gizmos? Pretty much, we got the gizmos. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for your time in coming and your love for the church, that you care about God's church. So let's stand together. I'm going to invite Fred, if you'll come up and have a benediction for us, please.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, what a privilege it is to be called by your name. Thank you, Lord, for this, your church, and for the opportunity to be your hands and your faith, Lord, a faith that anticipates and expects the impossible. Infuse our hearts with love and warmth for one another and for our communities, and may we truly become instruments of peace and light in this world. And so bless us, we pray. Bless the food we will receive. Bless each congregation that's represented, and give us safety in our travel until we meet again, for we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Fred. Thank you for coming. If you have questions, we'll be hanging around from the office team for a little bit. We'll be glad to answer what questions that we can. But remember, through that door, special gifts right through there.
Bring that $100 tip.
Where do I get off of this thing?
I'm not guilty of anything, but here's what I'd like to do. Still on the fence. Problem child. I'm 60% there. I'm 61%. I'm 61%. I've got
All right, I hope so. What'd you do to your car, Dad?
my car started to make a funny noise. Like something was like yeah, so I the tire from the right side was like on bottom. So I was like, well, this is crazy. So I picked it up with the car again, and then I started to tighten the plug. Put it a little more. So, but the good thing is it was just me in the car. So as soon as I tightened everything up, it was, well, the noise is still there. The noise is still there. But it wasn't that wobbly as it used to. So,
Maybe time for your race.
I think so, or maybe a new car.
No.
No.
Not the moment home. You're not going to do that.
Yeah, because no, we are not at that financial blanket is not good.
Whatever this thing is, it's really cool.
It's a camera.
At first, I thought it was a mic. I like how it blows up from the top.
No, that's good stuff, man. Glad you did it. Glad you got here. Thank you for the presentation.
Yes, it says more.
Aye, sir. Yes, there is.